Welcome again to our YouTube channel. Our God is sufficient for all. Our God is sufficient for all. Failure is not defeat. Failure is not defeat, but a learning curve for success. I understand failure from my part, my take on it. Failure is not defeat, but a learning curve for success. Learning curve for success with determination. Learning curve for success with determination. Somebody else will say, what about repeated failure? Repeated failure is not defeat either. Because determination to succeed is the willpower that feeds and waters the tree of success. Repeated failure is not defeat either. Because determination to succeed is the willpower that feeds and waters the tree of success in one's life. I believe in the parable of the sower, we can change it and call it what we understand, how God speaks to us through that parable. We talked about the parable of the sower as a parable of the seed. We looked at that at length. But there is another part to it. It is the parable of success or the parable of the harvest. We learn from this parable of the sower that it can be the parable of the seed, it can be the parable of the harvest, it can be the parable of success. In this parable that we talked about in the last video, we see that from the footpath where the seed fell, the hopes of success, the hopes of the harvest were dashed immediately. The seeds that the sower sowed on the footpath, the hopes of success, the hopes of the harvest were immediately dashed. Why were they dashed? Because they could not grow. They were trampled upon underfoot. They were stepped on. They were trampled upon underfoot. So they cannot germinate. They cannot grow. And whatever was not trampled upon, was not trodden underfoot, was instantly devoured and eaten by the birds of the air. The birds ate them up. So some were stepped on, they were trodden upon, and those which remained, they were eaten and devoured by the birds of the air. That means the hopes of success, the hopes of the harvest were dashed, and that was failure. Some seeds fell in the rocky grounds. And these seeds in the rocky grounds, the hopes of the harvest spring up immediately with the sprouting seed. The seed sprouted and there were hopes of the harvest. But this hope was short-lived. These hopes were short-lived because the seeds did not have enough moisture, enough water to depend on, or to feed from, or to nurture them, to make the ground better for them to grow, to make the ground welcoming for the seed to grow. So it was short-lived. Lack of moisture, the sprouting seed died. The hopes of the success, the hopes of the harvest were done away with. Short-lived hopes. Short-lived hope for success, hope for the harvest. Then we see from the thorn patch, the seeds that fell at the thorns or in the thorn area, in the thorns, they endured a little bit longer, as the seed and the thorns were growing together. But at the end, what happens? The thorns triumphed over the seed, and the seed was choked and died. The hopes was a little bit longer. There was more hope. This seed may produce some fruit. There may be some success here. We may have some harvest here. But at the end, the thorns triumphed over the seed. Finally, we see on the good soil comes grain, a grain that reaches maturity, and there is harvest. The sower did not lose hope. He continued sowing the seed. Continued, determined. This story is not simply an assurance of eventual success in life and even in the spiritual world. It's not just simply an assurance of success in the face of repeated failure. There was repeated failure. But this story is not simply about that. It's not simply about eventual success in the face of repeated failure. And remember, we said failure is not defeat. It's a learning curve for success. And repeated failure is not defeat either, because determination to succeed is the willpower that feeds and waters the tree of success. So this story is not simply an assurance of eventual success in the face of repeated failure. Why? Because the staggering amount of the harvest shatters open the parable of the sower and propels the hearer, you who is listening, into what we call eschatological scenario. That not only it assures you that there is eventual success, even when you are faced with repeated failure, with the determination you are going to succeed in one way or another, because determination to succeed is the willpower that feeds and waters the tree of success. Because failure is a learning curve for success. But this parable opens up and propels you who is listening to it, that the Lord does not only make us succeed in life, but is opening to us the eschatological scenario. This parable also assures you, the hearer, and me, that determination in life opens the doors for success, and especially in the spiritual world, that never give up in the journey that you have started, whether the journey of life here and the journey of life in the spiritual world. Never give up. In the inconceivable harvest, the inconceivable abundance of the harvest, it was huge harvest. It's inconceivable. This inconceivable abundance of the harvest is God's graciousness. Is God's graciousness being manifested? That God is manifesting His graciousness to us and to anybody who is determined to succeed, both in life and in the spiritual world, in the life of faith. This evokes awe and praise. It evokes awe and praise for God. Awe and praise for God, who enables us to succeed. It is not our making, it's not our working, it's God who enables us to succeed. So therefore, in our success, we must be in awe and praise of God. Our duty in this life is to be determined and understand that failure in the journey of life is part of the detours, the corners, the meanders, the ups and downs, the mountains, the valleys, the waters, the bridges that we cross in order to reach our success. Therefore, in life, never lose hope for success. In life, never lose hope for success, no matter how long it takes, no matter how painful it feels, no matter how frustrating it feels, no matter how humiliating it is. Never lose hope in succeeding. Never lose hope in success. Never lose hope to making it in the world and in the spiritual world. Never subvert your determination to anything else for fear of failure. If you fear to fail, you will never succeed. If you fear to fail, you will never succeed. Failure teaches the ways to succeed. It enables you to understand the weaknesses, the strengths, and what you need to eliminate in order to succeed. And for you to succeed, that means you have to begin again. If you have failed, you don't give up, you begin again. You start anew. And in starting anew, now you know the areas that you have to focus on, eliminating impediments, bringing down barriers, flattening the hills and the mountains that you have encountered. And always remember to be indefectible. Have indefectible determination. That you are not fatigued by any failure, not discouraged by any failure, but determined to begin again with a new vigor, with a new zeal, with a new focus. Lest you forget, failure is not defeat, but a learning curve for success. And success is not determined by how quick you achieve your goal, but how valuable you find your success. It's not how quick you get there, but how valuable that success is to you. Failure refines you to enjoy the success with grace, with awe, and praise to God. May God bless you and embrace you. If you forget everything else, remember this one thing: failure is not defeat. is a learning curve for success. Never lose hope. Be determined to succeed. For determination is the willpower that feeds and waters the tree of success. May God bless you, and keep in mind, in whatever you do and you fail, failure is not defeat, but a curve or a learning curve for success. May God bless you, and may when you succeed, be in awe and praise of God, who enables you to succeed, who enables you to achieve. May you have a good evening. See you again.